Hello and welcome, friends. I hope everybody's having a great day so far. If you are new here, welcome. And if you're back, welcome back. I greatly appreciate all of your ongoing support. This is my channel, Dragon's Jewel Creative Gems, and I'm Tegan. And I'm just going to get all that wonderful YouTube-y stuff out of the way first. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, please consider doing so. It's just down below there. If you like the content that you see, don't forget to give it that like. And of course, any love, comments, suggestions, all that wonderful stuff, there's that comment section below as well. Today, we are doing a good old whip and chat. And for those of you that don't know what that stands for, it's just WIP, work in progress. And that just means I'm working on a crafty project. Usually for me, it's a diamond painting. So I've got my I always mix it up, but I think it's Blossom Fairy. I always want to say Fairy Blossom for some reason. But Blossom Fairy from Diamond Painting Fanatics. I'm on the last row, as you can tell. I've only got about a row done since Mermaid's Magic event is over. The Spring Flings is still happening this month, so yeah, that's okay. It's been relatively busy in the sense of I haven't had much diamond painting time this week, especially. Last week is when I kind of got this row happening. But yeah, we'll get into that. So it hasn't been a super exciting 2 weeks, but yeah. Pretty much we went through the Easter. My pen is super sticky right now. We pretty much went through the Easter holidays since my last little whip and chat. And of course, I mentioned I would be doing a Easter dinner over at my aunt's. She was hosting it. So we went over for that. We went over around four, I want to say, and she had a ham cooking, and we each kind of brought some dishes. We contributed some buns towards the dinner and some ice cream to go along with the cake that we were having for dessert. So we did that. We had some scalloped potatoes, some ham, some carrots and broccoli and like some good veggies and stuff, and basically just had like a whole lovely little meal together. And my mom and aunt hid a bunch of eggs for my son, so we brought over a little Easter basket for him, and he did a little bit of an egg hunt over there. He got a whole pile of Kinder Surprises, so he absolutely loved that because he gets little toys inside. He doesn't usually do more than maybe take a lick of one small kind of chunk of the chocolate, so the chocolate part usually gets eaten by an adult, which is fine. It happens. So he was all about the toys, though, for sure, that were in it, and so he kept wanting to open them and open them and open them just to see the toy. And so we had to kind of explain to him that I know you want all the toys, but we've got to open them sparingly because otherwise the chocolate won't be good. And we still had to get to our dinner hour at that point, too, so we kind of had to put a little halt to his excitement on that, but we let him open a couple. And then, yeah, we also kind of turned it in because my stepdad's birthday is April Fool's Day. We also kind of turned it into a little bit of a birthday get-together celebration. So that's why we had the cake and ice cream for dessert. And did some present opening there as well. We ended up getting him, it was kind of funny, we actually, without even realizing it, decided that we would get him some seat covers for his Jeep, because that was the one thing that we kind of knew. You know, he loves driving his Jeep. Our son likes getting rides in the Jeep. Going into summer, he's going to be driving it much more than he does in the winter, although he does drive it quite a bit in the winter too. But he's going to be cruising around just for the sake of cruising around, because the weather will be nice too and stuff like that. So we figured we'd, he didn't have any, and so we got him some seat covers. And it was kind of funny because my mom kind of chuckled and she said, oh, that's perfect, because I guess his current seat is kind of not looking, his current seats are kind of looking a little bit ratty and worn, and so really it turned out to be an awesome gift for him. Sounds like he kind of needed something to freshen them up anyways and kind of make them look nice again, so that was perfect. He enjoyed them. I know when we went to the store and picked them out, our son was super excited. He kept like tapping on the box, and he insisted on carrying it around the store and all that wonderful stuff. He was quite thrilled with us purchasing that for his papa. So yeah, we did that. That was a nice little kind of late afternoon evening last weekend, or the weekend before last. Yeah, the weekend before last. I'm sorry, I'm so mixed up. As you know, that Easter Monday completely threw me off. Completely. I lost track of what day of the week it even was, all that good stuff. And ended up oopsing on my Wednesday video, so that video didn't get put out until the Thursday, which was totally my bad. But I still got a video out, so that's a bonus. So that was that week. Not really much happened. That was just kind of a standard week of doing the stay-at-home things, doing diamond painting when my son was in school, so that's how I got that little row up there done, because I would do that when he was in school and stuff, and I just kind of catch up on some PVR shows while I did that. And then we had our normal kind of weekend. Oops. Yeah, then we kind of had our normal weekend. We went into this week. I'm not sure exactly what day it was, but we got we've been waiting for a surgery date for my son. So we finally got a surgery date for him. It looks like that's going to be happening in the later part of May, so he will end up missing probably 2-3 days of school, which is, I don't like him to miss school if we can help it, but this is something we've been waiting on, and so it's one of the few things that I kind of, we do the surgery. It's just a day one, so he's just in there to get the surgery, basically got discharged and sent home. Then there's usually a little bit of recoup time at home, just keeping an eye on him because the effects of the anesthesia and all of that good stuff. So that's where we usually kind of keep him home. Obviously he'll miss the day of the surgery, and then we usually keep him home for a day or two after that, just to kind of keep an eye on him and the anesthesia. And then he has to kind of, it's for the back of his head, so he has to kind of watch, which is probably the hardest part of the surgery, is he has to watch hitting or bonking the back of his head on anything. And because he's still just a little guy, he's always on the go, sometimes that's a little bit hard to kind of get him to slow down a bit during that point. He's already had one of these surgeries to the back of his head, and what it is when he had his trach removed, we ended up doing 2 different airway surgeries on his trach near his vocal cords area, and it was during one of those surgeries when he was in the children's ICU that even though they said they were turning him and all of that, he really should have been on a memory foam style pillow and probably turned a little bit more frequently than he was, so he ended up getting a severe bed sore that actually killed, well, I don't even know how big it was, but it was fairly large, ended up being killing all his hair follicles there, so he ended up having a huge bald spot on the back of his head. And we've kind of, until we got the first little portion of this surgery to the back of his head, we were kind of, and we still kind of are, giving him certain hairstyles to kind of disguise that or hide it, and so it's less noticeable. But the idea is to eventually that will be gone, that bald spot, and he'll just have a small little maybe scar line there, just, but it shouldn't be super noticeable, be far less noticeable than what's currently there for sure. But what they do is they put him into a day surgery, and they go in, they basically kind of do a slice in that area, they get rid of as much scar tissue as they can, and then they kind of pull the skin taut and really tight together and stitch it back. Like, so they're kind of stretching that skin and closing that that gap to bring his hairline closer together. So that's where I say eventually he might just have like a thin little scar where that pulling together occurs. Because it was so large, he needed multiple to do this, and they do like at least 6 months, if not longer, in between. It's been a little bit over a year since his first one, so this will now be his second one that will be getting done here. So that'll be happening. That will be at the end of May. I probably will make sure, I think it's on a Tuesday, so of course I'll have my Monday video. I'll make sure, hopefully that'll have my Wednesday video scheduled. I'm not sure yet whether it'll be a whip and chat or ghostly echoes that has to be on that Friday, but I'll figure that out closer too. If I need to, I might adjust something there. Just put out a regular video in place of, if it's a whip and chat, I might just put out a regular video and postpone the whip and chat to the following week, just to so that I'm not worried too much about getting that video done while my son's recovering and I have to kind of keep a closer eye on him. All that wonderful stuff. But of course I won't know what that's panning out to look like. All that wonderful stuff. Let's see. So other than that, this week, as you've probably heard me talk about many times, my craft space here is really just, I think it's maybe an 8x10 room, maybe. It's a pretty small room anyways. It's not the largest of rooms that I'm in the house. It's the smallest bedroom actually that I'm using. But I liked it for the natural light originally when we moved in, because we had another room which was dedicated for guests and future nursery, which of course ended up happening, so it was a good thing I was in a different room than that one because otherwise I would have had to move things around. So I'm in one of these smaller craft rooms, but the problem with that is when I got into diamond painting and I started adding in all my diamond painting crafting stuff with my normal crafting stuff, the room became very cluttered very quickly. I did buy a few extra kind of storage cabinets and rolling carts and stuff like that to kind of help with that, but I still very quickly outgrew this room and literally had an entire corner of boxes sitting in front of some of my pull-out plastic drawers that I had craft stuff in, and kind of taking up the corner of the closet. I also had a bunch of diamond painting boxes that were sitting on the floor, as well as kind of up in the closet shelf, and that was because I made a little bit of room for some in the closet. So basically I spent about 5 hours probably on the Monday and another 10 hours on the Tuesday just putting together a plastic kind of utility style shelf and setting it up down in the basement in a spot that's kind of out of the way and not being used, to store a bunch of those extra craft supplies and boxes that have craft supplies in them that I have great plans for. Yeah, so I have great plans for those, of course, but they were definitely cluttered and in the way up here. So I spent those 2 days moving and filling up those shelves and putting a couple of extra things on top of a hope chest down in the basement that's next to the shelf, just to kind of declutter my craft room enough that I could kind of make it functional and useful again, and have easier access to some of the current stuff that I'm doing far more regularly than some of the other crafts. So not that I'm getting out of the other crafts, I'm just not, I don't need access to that stuff all the time. It's easy enough for me to go downstairs, grab what I need, bring it up, that kind of thing. So I did that. That was a lot of work, because of course while I was doing that, I was also kind of dusting and going through all my craft stuff and just kind of, okay, what can go downstairs? What do I want upstairs? So it was kind of sorting through some of that and then reorganizing them back into spots that made sense. I made it functional again. And then, of course, wiping down any of the desktops and the tables and the shelves and all of that. And then eventually kind of vacuuming, sweeping, mopping the floor and the corners and under things. And so it was a big extravaganza. Big extravaganza. The first day, as I said, I only worked on it for like 5 hours. And my back wasn't exactly happy with me after that, so I ended up soaking that evening in a nice warm bath, kind of eased them back up. And then, of course, I went and started working on it again the following day. And I was at the point that day where I just wanted to get it done. I wanted my craft space back because I wasn't able to access my diamond painting or this canvas or anything like that. And I was taking up a better portion of my day. So I ended up phoning my parents, and I asked them when my son got off the bus from school if they could kind of come snag him for about 2 hours until my hubby could essentially go and pick him up from their place to bring him home so that I could continue to do this. And then I had cleared it with my husband, of course, and also asked if he could kind of watch the kidlet and bring home a really quick, simple dinner so that I could just kind of give her and get it done. And so he very, very, very kindly did that, which was awesome because it allowed me just to focus on and get it done. The only problem with that is I am now a hurting unit. I am completely bagged and exhausted. Yesterday I had no energy. I went back to bed when my son went to school, and then just kind of, when I woke up, I was just kind of vegging and doing not much of anything because I didn't really have energy to do much of anything. Thankfully my husband came home and cooked some dinner and just kind of let me continue to veg. And you think I would fall asleep? I thought I would my head would hit the pillow and I would be out because that's how exhausted I was. But yeah, no, I did my usual insomnia, wide awake into the wee hours, and then kept waking up multiple times last night, so I'm still pretty tired. My back is not happy. I've pretty much been slathering it in icy hot right now because it was very stiff and sore, and any sort of bending or twisting, it's definitely not happy. So yeah, just kind of been taking it easy. I'm still pretty tired. I'm thinking I'll probably, once I'm done filming this whip and chat here, I'll probably give into a nap before my son gets home from school so that I have a little bit of energy this evening to spend with him and my hubby. All that good stuff, and maybe even cook my first dinner of the week. Yeah, because I didn't do dinners at all this week. Normally I try to have them cooked for when my hubby gets home, but I was just so busy getting stuff done, and with my back bugging me and all that good stuff, he's kind of taken on dinners, whether it's bringing it home or cooking, which is awesome. Yeah, so that's been my week, but the good news is my craft room is functional again. It looks awesome. I can see the floor. I have more than just a little walking space to, walking path I should say. Well, it was a little bit wider than a walking path, but not by much. But basically a little walking path over to my craft desk and a little rolling spot to roll between my craft desk and my computer desk. Yeah, so that's how cluttered this room was, and like I said, not very functional. Made it really hard to access a lot of my craft stuff, so I think this will be better. It was a lot of work, yes, but it feels 10 times better already just walking in this room. And I feel like I can kind of be productive in here again. So that's a good thing. I'm glad it's over and done with, because now I get back to my diamond painting. I can get back to my channel stuff, and then I can of course access things much easier. All that good stuff. Eventually, the plan is to hopefully move downstairs into one of the larger rooms and reset up a craft room down there. That'll hold all my stuff better, and I can kind of plan out the layout for that room and functioning everything, but that will be a little bit yet because we have pretty much an extravaganza of work to get done down there, which will include obviously cleanup, reorganizing some of the rooms a bit, purging some stuff. We've been purging upstairs. We're doing a huge purge of the house right now. We have a lot of stuff we've gathered after living in this house for 11 years. And there's just stuff that really we don't need anymore. Stuff that we've been hanging onto that we've never gone back to, little things like that. So it's really just going through things, and like some of my son's baby clothes we still have in the house, so just kind of getting those out, donated, all that wonderful stuff. So it's been quite the overhaul. We've been doing little bits and pieces of the purging every time and taking boxes or bags to the donation thing. Garbage going to garbage, recycle to recycle, you know, all that wonderful stuff. It's definitely been a work in progress. Obviously, doing even just a 5-hour day in my office was a lot on my body, and a lot on my energy level too. So it's slow going for me for sure. I totally overdid it by doing the 10-hour day, and I probably shouldn't have, but that was just me reaching a point where it's like, I want it done, I want it out of the way. I know I'll pay for it later, which I am, but yeah. I'm glad it's done. But that's kind of, I gotta keep that in mind when I do the rest of the house, so yeah. My hubby does quite a bit of it, for sure. But with his work schedule, it's usually on the weekends, and it's really hard to do with the kid around, so we kind of usually just have a day, and we don't always do it every weekend because it's on that one day, and we just sometimes want to do other stuff, which is fair. I mean, you guys still gotta have a life too and enjoy it, but we're definitely, it's a long-term project and works, so I'm not sure exactly when I will get down into one of those rooms, because the other thing we have to do in the one, we have to redo the floor in it, and we had to do some drywalling in there because there was some leaking. So basically we've got to finish doing the repairs for that, and of course giving it a fresh coat of paint and that kind of thing, so that will take not only time but money. So as for how quickly that'll happen or when that can happen, I'm not sure yet, but that is the long-term plan. But for now, even just having a shelf down there with craft supplies that I'm not using all the time has helped, for sure. Definitely makes things more manageable and easy. So yeah, that's been a huge project. It's been on the go, kind of behind the scenes. So that's been most of this week, especially the craft room stuff. Yeah, so that's pretty much I think it for the extravaganza thing. Like I said, sore back, so I mean that's still kind of slathering her up and kind of taking things easy still for probably for a little bit. Probably another day or so before I kind of get back to normal. I can feel it loosening up from the icy hot, because last night I would kind of shift or move and my back would crack. So yeah. Usually when that happens, things are loosening up and doing what they need to. So, you know, probably we'll just kind of be taking it easy this weekend, because today's already Thursday, which is hard to believe. It's Thursday at like, I don't know, 10. I think I started this at 10, so it's probably about 10:30 or so now. Son's, of course, in school. Tomorrow my hubby's off. Yeah, and of course I've got to gear up for the channel, filming stuff for the ghostly echoes. Yeah, so I'll have a pretty busy weekend, just kind of focusing on that. And just kind of kicking back and catching up on shows, doing some time painting. That'll probably be my weekend. Son will go over to my parents for his normal kind of sleepover stuff on the Friday after school. which he always looks forward to. And we look forward to it too, because it gives us a little bit of a break here at home from all his crazy shenanigans and energy. Yeah. Other than that, I've been in here when I'm not filming things and I'm just kind of kicking back diamond painting. I have been rewatching the series called Alias. If you haven't heard of it, it's, oh, I don't even know how old it is now. I want to say maybe like early 2000s, maybe mid 2000s, when the series came out with Jennifer Garner, and Bradley Cooper was also in it for quite a while. But basically, she is a spy, so she goes on a bunch of missions to do certain things. So she has disguises that she wears, and tech equipment, and there's fights, and there's a little bit of kind of background politics for who she works for, of course. Yeah, it's a really, really, really good series. I have seen the entire series because it's no longer on TV, of course, or anything. But it was a series that, you know, my parents enjoyed, me and my husband enjoyed when we were first together and it came out. It was actually one of the few series that we've kind of watched together and both enjoyed. And we had bought the entire series on DVD, so I've been rewatching some of that and really enjoying that, starting right from season 1, the pilot episode, watching a couple of episodes here and there while I diamond paint, that kind of thing. And it's been really nice because even though I haven't watched it in a long time, a lot of it's really fresh and new, and oh yeah, that happened, and kind of remembering still. And so I don't have to I still don't need to pay like 100% attention to it, but I do find myself getting caught up in it again because it's been so long. So that's always fun. And then what was it? Well, I was actually cleaning my office and reorganizing on Netflix. It was a documentary series, so three 1-hour episodes, I think is what it was. It's a docu-series called The Program, and absolutely shocking. It was basically a cult-like experience of a kind of like a behavioral boarding school kind of place. Really just like how they got away with it was crazy. Because it was a kind of behavioral school, but it was also a boarding school, so they weren't living with their parents and stuff like that, they charged a tuition to attend. And it was usually for behaviors like adolescents and kids who were into drugs or had behavioral issues or problems, that their parents wanted to give them some kind of structure and discipline, like not like strict discipline, but like almost like a military regimented structure where it was like a disciplined schedule that you had to follow, and would kind of essentially help you. That was supposed to be the idea, and that was the idea that they would put across to the parents. When parents visited, I guess they only ever allowed them in 2 rooms of the entire property. And when the parents showed up to the property, it was like this gorgeous rolling acres of land with trees and a garden, and on their website they showed pictures of bunch of teens doing outdoor activities and proms and doing like things like horse riding, and so they made it look really, really kind of like upscale, classy, structured activities, making it look really great to the parents, charging them this outrageous tuition. But they only ever allowed them in these 2 rooms, which had these wood-paneled walls. One was an office and one was kind of like a boardroom where they would kind of discuss the program and kind of the plans going forward for their child, basically getting them to pay the tuition for the year or the month or whatever, having them sign the contracts, all that good stuff. They would go and actually essentially kidnap the kids from their homes and bring them to the property so the parents wouldn't have to drop them off. And then they would be in a dorm style room that looked nothing like the boardroom or the paneled office. It was more of a rundown, white-walled, meshed windowed kind of area, and they weren't allowed to talk to other students. They had a structured schedule that they had to follow. They weren't allowed to look out windows. They weren't allowed to go outside. They weren't allowed to do a whole bunch of things, and it was essentially, they had also like a curfew. They had a house lady that made them adhere to the rules. I guess the staff on site didn't even need any of the training or education. They just hired whoever would basically keep their mouth shut about what was going on. And yeah, and so it was essentially like a prison. And their parents weren't allowed to visit them. They weren't allowed to go visit their parents. They would hold, every now and then they would hold like a group session with the parents, but they weren't allowed to run up and hug their kids. Like, very, very restrictive. Very restrictive. And it was all on par of this proper training, getting them out of this bad lifestyles that they were getting themselves into and all that. There was a ton of physical abuse that would happen. The boys weren't allowed to interact with girls and vice versa as well. They were in completely separate dorms, so they never got to see each other, spend time with each other, all of that as well. Just crazy. Abuse happened. They had certain rooms that didn't even have cameras, and they actually have video footage that they were showing throughout this documentary of the abuse that was happening in the rooms with the camera. So you can only imagine what was happening in the rooms without the cameras. Like, just wow. Super, super crazy. Super powerful, but super sad documentary. It was actually, the one who did it was a group of the girls who actually attended this school. And they even had, apparently, sister schools in different locations. And some of them were getting shut down because they were being, eventually the abuse was being found out and shutting down. And somehow they would rectify it with the parents by saying, oh, that was just this location, and actually getting them to transfer some of them into their sister schools. So these girls were talking about how these new students would be showing up, and they didn't even know other schools like theirs even existed. They thought they were the only ones. So then they talked about their experiences. They showed some video footage. The place has since shut down, thankfully, but they're just bringing awareness that it was out there, it existed, that some of them still do. A bunch of crazy stuff like that, and they even showed the rooms, and they were able to talk to a couple of the staff. A couple were very resistant. They wouldn't acknowledge the fact that they knew any of that was going on. All of that. Others claimed that they knew it was going on. There was one lady who spoke about the only job she would ever do, because of her own morals, was basically be the nighttime security person. But then when she saw them getting sent to their rooms at their curfew, she talks about how jail-like it was, and even just doing that, not seeing the actual abuse, but seeing that kind of structure and that regiment and those policies and all of that in place, how hard that was on her even, and how she didn't even agree with that in the program. So super, super, super good documentary. Crazy. I can't even believe, like, the parents were essentially duped into paying these high tuition fees. And then these kids were mistreated for however long the program told them they needed to be there, because they had structured levels even based off behavioral, and how the student behaved during their time there. And basically they had to reach, I think it was something like level 6 before they would be discharged from the program. And crazy, because they would do things like, some of the girls talked about how they only ever made it to like level 3 before the school was shut down, or level 2, and that was because they followed whatever the program was so that they could get out of there faster. But they didn't agree with it. They took blood and basically told her parents that her pregnancy test was negative, but her drug test was positive, and so they put her in this drug program. When I say program, drug, because she actually came across her file, and straight in the file her results said negative for both. So they had lied to her parents to keep her in the program for as long as they wanted her there. So yeah, they talk about a lot of the trauma that happened, but very, very good series. But just, wow, the fact that that happened, crazy. So that was really, really good documentary. Other than that, I'm probably going to leave this whip and chat here. And kind of update everybody in the next 2 weeks. There's not really much to say about the channel. It's chugging along. It's doing its thing. I do have some unboxings that I need to film still. Still working on those ghostly echoes, you know. All of that. Now that I've got my craft room organized, I can kind of focus on getting back to some of those things. And now that I kind of know what crafty projects were in that crazy cluttered mess, I can maybe start planning some crafty things to share on the channel as well. So I'm going to leave it at that. And of course, see everybody in the next video with something new. Bye.